What observations of natural history can tell us about the success of our species? From the perspective of evolution, what makes us thrive as a species? From the times of the dinosaurs over 200 million years ago, those who were most resourceful, creatures that can live in the sea and fly above, held a competitive advantage over those who were bound to the land to get their food, to hunt, to graze, or be eaten. When resources became scarce, the meat eaters ate one another. According to my son's Encyclopedia of Dinosaurs, for which I've memorized every word due to the popular demand, Triceratops and T-Rex were the last surviving dinosaurs before they were wiped out 65 million years ago. Although our human ancestors lived over 6 million years ago, modern forms of humans only began to evolve 200,000 years ago. We had to move fast against deadly predators, find new grounds, hunt for food, and those who can hear more, see more, learn quickly, lives. Then the first human civilization appeared around 3000 BC, and with the advent of the Industrial Revolution, circa 18th century, humanity began to organize and behave in new ways. As we navigate a new era of discovery, those who did not conform to the exacting standards of society, those who constantly found new and better ways of doing things and understanding the world, such as inventors and scientists, were celebrated and put on pedestals. Leonardo da Vinci, Albert Einstein, and Thomas Edison often had multiple projects on the go and did not necessarily complete them all. The state of their deaths were chaotic, or an inspiration, depends who's asking. The world then favored the brave, those willing to take risks, those who could apply their original ideas to advance civilization and solve problems in innovative ways, driven by what interests them. Or in modern terms, those who think outside the box, because they did not fit neatly within any box. When our primal human needs, such as our physiological and safety needs, were met, we looked to fulfill our esteem needs: respect, self-esteem, status, recognition, strength, and freedom, and eventually, self-actualization, the desire to become the most that one can be. Given the choice, humanity as we know it today doesn't just want to survive, we want to thrive. So where did we go wrong as a society when people who have the qualities of the thinkers and doers, celebrated just less than a century ago, are now finding it hard to fit into our workplaces, some out of work, some ostracized by society? Where did we go wrong as a society when confronted by crisis, doctors issued "do not resuscitate" orders to those with learning disabilities? Where did we go wrong when speaking to an employee who communicated their newly discovered neurodivergence? We take a step back, perceiving this person as dangerous. And where did we go wrong when we over-supervised the same person who just months before their disclosure, we were quite happy to leave to their own devices? There is so much wrong with our current state of affairs. And the root of this lies in not recognizing that civilizations change with the times, just like the creatures which existed millions of years before us had to adapt to changes, or perish. As a species, our chances of survival increase with our capacity to adapt to our environment or the society we live in. Within monopoly capitalist nations, mental health disorders are the leading cause of life expectancy decline, behind cardiovascular disease and cancer. We are not built to push ourselves beyond our mental health limits at the cost of what is most important to us: our primal human needs to be fed, watered, to feel safe, and look after our families. This is our shared reality, whether or not you are a neurodivergent. Have we become so single-minded in our pursuit for more that we forget how to listen to others, to connect on a human level, to understand that it is okay to ask for help? When a neurodivergent approaches their employer at work to ask for support, they may not tell you the full story. Because to be vulnerable is to deal with uncertainty, being at risk of being seen as incompetent. With that comes a type of emotional exposure no one is ready to share with their workplace, unless they feel safe to do so. Brené Brown talks about this in The Call to Courage on Netflix. If you are in a position of privilege, what you could do to help someone in a position of vulnerability is to reach out with a statement and a question. I've never looked at it that way. What can you share that will help me see what you see? Jessica Dars talked about this in her TED Talk, How to Have Constructive Conversations. From a recent survey I ran, 73% of individuals with ADHD said they could not communicate what they need support for with their employers. Yet the very people who struggle to get the support they need to stay in work are also the ones you could turn to in times of change. And that's our here and now. 87% of ADHDers told me if they were confronted with inefficiency, they are compelled to challenge it. If you're facing a crisis of innovation or creativity, here's what you could do. Recognize the strengths in the people in your team who have a tendency to think out of the box, because in their world, there is no box. Some of their best work are done while flying solo. Ask them where they see themselves within the team. Find out how to best maximize each person's potential by having conversations often and constructively. Disseminate a culture of compassion. Build an army of mental health allies and champions at work. The world needs us, but not all of us are Elon Musk, Richard Branson, or Bill Gates. Some of us are quietly fighting our own battles, from starting out in a culture of scarcity and complicated beginnings. But imagine if you nurture the talent that you spot, no matter how dim the light is at first. We may just be the next person taking those proverbial rockets beyond our universe. After all, where do you think humanity is heading in 1,000,000 years if the connection that binds us is all with God? Samantha Hiew is the director of ADHD Girls, a company founded with a social mission to empower girls and women with ADHD through effective advocacy, education, and specialist insights. With an eclectic career background in 16 work sectors, she identifies predominantly as a storyteller and scientist due to her curiosity in how things came to be and how we humans interact with one another. Sam's unique experiences of growing up in an Asian culture and living in the West for nearly 2 decades opened her eyes to how ADHD manifests within the intersections with culture, class, and race. This helps her understand she is not just a sum of a medical condition, but also how the environment and circumstances she grew up in conditioned her to be. To work with Sam, please contact Samantha at adhdgirls.co.uk.